Something just isn't adding up about this singing tour in Italy situation that I've been in for the last couple of years. What is up, winning team? This is a part 2. In part 1, go and watch it, please, for the life of me. I explain why I'm coming across the way I am and why I'm just saying what I have to say. So if whatever your worries, your concerns, listen, don't care. Do not care, because I've realized, as I talked about at length in that video, that part of my exhaustion is from holding back everything I have to say all the time and always having to hold back because of this. So I've decided we're going to just go out all guns blazing and I'm going to say the things I have to say. And it all started because when I woke up this morning, I got a notification to tell me that a certain individual who have been going to sing with in Italy, you guys will know, and I'm not using their name purely because it's not really about the person, it's about the situation, okay? Because I know how the world is. The world always loves to make things like, oh my gosh, did you see so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so? And it's like, that's not the point. It's like how everyone's like, oh my gosh, did you see Jay-Z was on the Epstein list? It's like, who cares who's on the freaking Epstein list? I care that in general, Hollywood has many stars and all the world has many stars that were doing things to kids. And I want to know where all these victims are. Are there any current victims? I don't care who's on the freaking list. They're probably all on the damn list. I saw the stupid clip from the Grammys, right? Where Kendrick Lamar's coming on stage, the whole crowd's going A minor, as if they're not all the ones also getting with A minor behind the scenes. I hate it here. I actually hate it here. This is the stupidest place. This is the stupidest, dumbest, densest society to ever be born into. And I wish the Lord would let me actually exit stage left. But nevertheless, I have to be here. So let me utilize my free will. I get a notification that said artist, right, is going back on tour again. So this will be the 5th year they were on tour, because last year was the 3rd year I was on tour with them. They'd gone on tour started the tour the year before the first year I was there. And so they went on tour again this year for the 5th year. And I was looking at the tour dates. And again, it's global, all over the planet this year. And I was just saying to myself, yeah, because we know this man just turned 70. Here's how this all started to not add up for me, okay? Let's fast forward back to end of last year. Like I said, in order for this video to make full sense to you, you probably want to watch the video that comes before this. Because I can't keep repeating the same things. My videos are long enough at the moment as it is, because I've just got so much to say, okay? So let's take a couple steps backwards. When we were back in, so go back to when I was in Poland, right? Let's start there. So I'm in Poland, I meet Jezebel, right? And the irony is, when I had last gone to Italy, so the time I went to Italy last year, which you guys know, I can't remember what was the last place we performed that time. Can you imagine? Anyways, I remember saying to you guys for like years, I feel like there's this like feminine entity that's in control here, like spiritually, because a lot of Europe is very, how I would describe religion, it's like, it's empty. It's just a bunch of rules and a bunch of like rules and rituals, but there's no substance in it. There's no like tangible feeling of it. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, I feel like when I read the Bible, when I spend time with God, it's not that I'm just doing things for God as in like I'm a robot. It's like I feel the life-giving power of God. Like I feel life in it. When I read my Bible, it's like it's jumping out at me and it's speaking to me. No, I'm not just reading it. It's like speaking to me. You know what I mean? And so I noticed with a lot of religion that's not there. So obviously Italy, a lot of countries in Europe are very like, unlike this country. This one, like the UK was never anybody's ally for real. Can I just say that? They're never anybody's ally. America, don't get so carried away thinking that these people over here are really your team. They're their own team. All they are to care about is themselves, just to be clear. Because I don't know, having gone to multiple countries in Europe over the years, I've been to Spain, I've been to the Netherlands, I've been to Poland, I've been to Italy, I've been to wherever else have I been in Europe? I wouldn't class it, but I technically went to Iceland. Iceland's not in Europe, is it? I don't freaking know. I don't know where else I've been, guys, but I've been in a lot of places. And the other countries, you can kind of see that they kind of have the same vibe, but England sticks out, and again, for being hella godless. And even though that Prince Charles is the head of the Church of England, nevertheless. So you go to these countries, they're very religious, but it's very empty, right? So I'm now surprised by this entity that I can feel. That's what makes it easy for these types of entities to be there. And so I kind of noticed from the first year that we were there, that there was this kind of like pushback, and I could feel it was coming from like a feminine energy, right, in the spirit. And I didn't know what to do, because this is where the story starts to unfold with the things I was saying in the previous videos, because I'm going there. I've been invited by a woman who's in her 50s, okay? and I'm around adults who are all older than me. Everybody's better than me or older than me or something than me. Like, I'm the bottom of the barrel, whichever way you look at it, right? I'm either the youngest, I'm either the least experienced, I'm either whatever. You know what I mean? The outsider who doesn't speak the language, right? I wonder if this is how Martin Luther felt when he went to Rome. Would he have known Italian? Or what would they speak in Rome back then? Because Rome, anyway. Anyway, so I'm just like here trying to just happy to be here. I'm now realizing that was the wrong thing. I should have not have just been happy to be here. I should have been like, well, if God has actually orchestrated all of this, maybe there's a bigger reason than you just being like, oh, I'm just so happy that I get to be here. You know what I mean? Maybe. That's what I'm now questioning and wondering. So I noticed this right off the bat. And so me and my friend, we'd had conversations about this and how, and this is where I just have to say the truth for what it is, right? Let's just say we all had different priorities. Everybody involved had different priorities is my takeaway from it, right? Those of us who came, like me and the other like singers, we all were just happy to book a job. They were already happy to book a big job with a big name, right? And so it was a big deal. That's how I realized what a big deal this guy was, because they were all like, we can't believe it. And these guys are fantastic talent. Like, this is again where I'm like, the world is so broken, because I met so many really talented folks and they made it seem like, again, this is why this delusion, the West being the main character, right? All the time, England and the US and all that. They were like, yeah, they immediately humbled me because they made me think, whoa, I do have a lot of opportunities, which I have actually used. Let's not forget, I have used all my opportunities to my extent, to the extent, you know what I mean, that I can of this country. So let's not pretend I haven't. But, how hard it is for them to break out as artists over there because of how, again, stuck in their ways they are, very old school, stuck in their ways, versus here, is quite interesting. The other thing I found quite interesting was the fact that the whole reason that my friend had a job there in the first place is because, or is able to work so consistently there, because she does a lot of singing at like events and weddings. And obviously it's nice because they're all very elegant, like fancy experiences, is because people love to have, they associate like the basic like gospel songs with like bringing God into the situation. Which is why, like I'm saying, it's like, it's so empty, because it's like, oh yay, like all these songs that are like, I'm just like, they're cute songs when you're like in you're learning your little cute little actions to songs and you're like in children's church, but like as adults, like this is empty, right? God isn't here. Like his spirit, I can't feel his spirit in the room. You know what I mean? And so I'm noticing this, and then I'm noticing that when it comes to said artist, we're all here with good intent, all of us who have come, and he is there with good intent. Lovely, lovely, lovely man. What a sweet man. One of the first things I thought to myself is, why is this guy single? Which we're going to get in, which I've already touched on. I was like, why is this guy single? Because either maybe he lost somebody, I don't know, but it just seemed off to me. And it seemed off to me in a way where it was like, it wasn't necessarily a reason he would be aware of, right? So this is what I'm saying, that my spiritual senses are going off. And I'm like, do I? But then I'm negating my own thoughts, because I'm thinking, well, I'm just here. My friend, she's been a Christian for 30 odd years, longer than I've been alive. These people, or I'm probably just crazy, right? Right. This is the thinking that I'm realizing I need to get rid of. And this is what we're going to be talking about through this whole, me just getting everything off my chest. So I'm like, I'm looking at the guy like, something feels off, and something felt off in his team, okay? And I was just like, there's a barrier there. I can feel a spiritual barrier, because like we're praying for this guy and we're praying for everyone, because everywhere you go, pray for everybody. Hello. If we're on the field, it's like, I look at it like everything, like with God, it's like, spread the gospel, build the kingdom. Like if I'm somewhere, it's my job. I might be the one person that God is expecting to be there to do the thing, which is what I probably was in a lot of ways that I didn't realize. But again, I was trying to respect my elders. I was trying to respect those that came before. All this stuff that everybody tells you to do. And I feel like that was wrong. And now I regret that I wasted 3 opportunities, well, 3 different years, but many more opportunities. And then maybe I could have actually done the damn thing. And I'm like, maybe this is why the Lord is like, you're still here. Because it's like, yeah, because what did you mean? What did you mean? You know what I mean? But I didn't see it that way, because if I had noticed that at the time, I would have done something. So obviously, the Lord allows everything to happen the way it does for a reason. And that's why when I'm as much as I'm like, God, get me out, I'm also like, oh, fine, I get it. You know, so I'm noticing all of this. We're doing all the prayers, we're praying for everybody, and we're seeing spiritual breakthrough. Like on the first year, there were breakthrough after breakthrough with different people. I'm not going to get into the details; it's their personal business. But there were breakthroughs with people on that production set. We were doing prayers. There was tears. There was all sorts, and it was so weird because it's like you go out there and you're all like singing, and everyone thinks this is what you're here for, and I'm all here like, "What's up, winning team? Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm in Italy. Here's today. Let me take you around for the whatever." Behind the scenes, we're going to a war spiritually. Do you know what I mean? And I'm going to war, and I'm exhausted. I was so exhausted after that trip. When I tell you, I could never wanted to be back. That was the first time in my life I ever thought, oh my gosh, I actually can't wait to be back. Can you imagine? I was so exhausted because the spiritual draining of it, like, because it is draining, like doing all this stuff, you know what I mean? Like taking on people's emotions, like addressing things, fighting off the demons, the spiritual warfare aspect. Then also just the fact that I was there for the first time using a muscle I'm not used to using. So they're singing these notes forever and I'm struggling to keep pushing the air out of my lungs. You know what I mean? We're doing long days because this is all new. This is our first time. We all met for the first time, the group, on the set in our green rooms. That was the first time we met the day we arrived at the venue at the Terme di Carcalla, the first year in Rome. That was the first time we all met, the first time we all sang together, the first time we did anything. And within a number of hours, we were going to be doing our rehearsal on stage. And then within a number of hours, we were going to be on stage and it was going to be the show. And I was about to sing for the first time in my life in front of 10,000 people. Yeah. So it's insane, right? So I'm just here, right, in the midst of it all, sussing this little bit of resistance to what we're doing in the space, right? And that's where these things start to get interesting. So obviously, after you guys know, one of the good things about me is being a loner is that I like to observe and I spend a lot of time observing. So like some people were enjoying like, you know, making fun videos, like fun TikToks and dancing. Other people enjoying talking. Other people, and I would spend a lot of time just sitting and observing. Like I'd find a good spot to watch everything happening because I want to see everything in detail. I'm trying to wrap my head. What if I have a production like this one day? I want to know how this thing works. This is the best opportunity for me to learn. While I'm here, I'm literally here. I can go walk around the whole everywhere. I have access to everything. I can just walk around and see how this thing works. I'm watching how are they building it. How is he doing it? I'm watching the man on stage and watching his greatness. You know what I mean? And I loved how he would do it because he would like basically not sing at all pretty much during rehearsals. Yeah, because he'd be in the middle of the crowd with the mic, you know, directing everybody on the stage. And I was just like, wow, that's also the confidence as well. But obviously this is his band who've willingly chosen to be there and whatnot. And he's just incredible. So this is what circles me back to where I get confused when fast forward 3 years later, which is where I'm going with this, when it's his 70th birthday in Verona and he's about to do his thing, why on God's green earth they couldn't afford to have us there for the 10 days that he had requested. Seems fishy to me. Especially we're going on tour again this year. So that was where I drew the line, right? That was where I drew the line. Because I'm like, how does that make any sense? How? And the only way that makes sense, because even the show I should have done that I ended up not doing, talked about that already, it was only one day and he was paying for it out of his pocket. So again, why on earth would he have to pay out of his own pocket on his 70th birthday for that? Do you mean to tell me, because I know how much money we were being paid, obviously, do you mean to tell me in all this touring and all of this on this man's own world tour in his 70s that you've been on for the past 3-4 years that you guys don't have that money? Something seems so off to me. Like that's why when I saw the tickets, if they'd ended the tour, I'd have been like, okay, maybe they really rinsed out all their money last year and that was the end and this is the end of things. Until I go and look at the tour dates of this year and I'm like, wait a minute, you're coming back here? You're going to Stockholm. You're going to what? What in the world is so? It's not adding up, and I'm not going to be silent now. That's why this is a simple reason why I'm not going to be silent any longer because it doesn't make any sense, right? And so, second year rolls around. I didn't really do much. Nothing really went down. I was kind of like, bearing in mind, I was also under a lot of pressure that year because although I wasn't under like pressure, like in terms of outwardly, I was like under pressure. Like I'm always like, the person people like feel like they can lean on, which I'm happy about. But sometimes I'm just like, I need a break, because there's like, there'll be people knocking at my door. Like, oh, can we pray about such and such and such? And I'm like, oh my gosh, is there such a thing as personal space, having a break? Simultaneously also having to deal with the pride of adults and just keep my mouth shut. Because some of the things that would happen, and it started this year, is we would like be rehearsing and we would be like going through things, and like I'll notice the little things. And this is where it's just sometimes it's just annoying, right? Because I'm coming in thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm so nervous. You guys know I was literally bricking it, like crying, all sorts, right? I get there and there'll be these little moments. And this is what reminds me that, wherever you go, humans are just exactly the same. Where like we'd be rehearsing the songs, and then they would ask like, so we all got sent our song singing parts, like via voice note and via audio and also lyrics and everything. We all got sent all that stuff ahead of time and everything, obviously. So me, who was panicking here, and it's quite funny how this works. I just knew that the best case scenario for me was, this is what I'm saying, I've understood how the adults operate at this point. The best thing for me to do is to just see what happens when I get there, when I arrive, right? And I remember telling you guys about this, and I remember saying, no, it sounds wild, but I just feel like this is the right thing to do. And boy, was it. Because when I got there and then I did the first rehearsal with my my friend's house, what she was singing and what she sent in the group and what we eventually sang were 3 different things. So what we ended up singing, because she ended up changing it while I was there, and I was like, well, this is what you had in the thing. And she was like, oh, that's not right. And I was like, oh, okay. So what is it that you do want to sing? So then she ends up singing, recording me and sending me that into the group, sending my voice into the group. And I was thinking, the heck is my voice doing in the group? Nevertheless, I wasn't surprised, right? That there was 3 different things. So then when we'd be in rehearsals, right? And you got to imagine, I'm standing in a bunch of adults, right? There's like 20 of us in the room, and people are like singing the notes. Now, I know that people are singing the wrong thing, but it's a classic case of like, oh, there's a whole bunch of people together doing the wrong thing. So it's like, am I going to speak up and say that's not what we're supposed to be singing? Or am I going to pipe down? Because then if I now speak up and say, in front of 3 actual professional singers in my group or in front of any other people in the group, it's like, and now everybody's going to obviously go back to the recordings, go back to this. But if you do that, I could prove, like, this is what I'm saying, like, people's pride is what's putting me off. Because it's like, I can prove what I'm saying is true because I can show you, look, at this voice note, this is what we were doing. And this voice note, this is what we were supposed to be doing. This is what we just sang there. This is what we're supposed to be doing here. And this is what it sounds like in the original. It's actually saying something different anyway. So no one sees, so I'm just keeping silent. And if somebody says, oh, you're singing the wrong thing, I'm like, okay, sorry, can you just repeat that one then for me? Like the one that we're supposed to be doing, which is not the right one, which is probably going to get changed again. Because that was the thing that kept frustrating me. How have we come back 3 years, year after year, singing the same 8 only songs, the same parts, and every single time things are changing? How? Like how? The parts are changing. The movement's changing. How the friggity frickin' frack. And it's just not even efficient anyway. Because you know the beauty of why people do tours like in industry when they're really successful? It's because you come up with like what you're doing, your set list or whatever. And then as you keep performing the exact same thing, it gets better and better and easier because you're like, everybody knows what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows what they're doing. The only thing that's going to change maybe is you're going to have to just see how you do the placement slightly differently in different venues, and any changes maybe because of things like languages and stuff like that. That's one thing. But like the actual like things, like those are the things that shouldn't change. So I'm just here getting frustrated in silence about this, right? And then I'm also thinking, is poor leadership happening here? Can I be honest? Because you got to understand, like, because there was one time where we were going through like some of the movement and whatever, and somebody got really frustrated, right? The person who was demonstrating what we're supposed to be doing got really frustrated, right? What they didn't realize is, and again, I know this because I've been a choreographer myself, what they didn't realize is what they were doing, they told us all to do something, and then they wanted us all to do it together, and then they wanted us all to like, and then they were going to do it with us. They were doing it with us. Now, here's the problem. They told us to do something, and then they did a different thing than what they told us to do. We all copied what they were doing because, again, I've just stayed silent, okay? This is the first time I've gone, by the way. When I saw to let the record show, I've stayed silent. I'm like, that's not what you just said, but okay. And other people, I'm sure, are confused, not paying as much attention, probably just assuming that maybe they were wrong. I'm sitting there going, that wasn't what we were doing, but we're all going to just adapt anyway, right? So we do. And then they get us to do it like once, and then they turn around and they're like, okay, let's do that again. And then they get frustrated that we didn't do the thing they taught us the first time. And then I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, this again goes back to the example I gave of like literally my last video where I was like, am I going to be the one person to speak up and then everybody's going to feel like I'm being confrontational, or should I just shut the hell up? Right? So I just stayed quiet. I just fell back. Right? And then they were like, getting frustrated. And I was thinking, first of all, you have no room to be frustrated because you've said one example, you've said the rules once, right? You know, you can't get mad at people, right? When you've only told them how to, like, this is movement. You've got 20 different people here. This isn't their specialty. You've told them once, they're not going to get it. Like, this is when I started to realize that, you know what, maybe not everybody's destined to be a leader. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you can't get frustrated. Like, it'll be these tiny little things, right? One of the times somebody got really upset because we had been organized a lunch. These are all older generation people, right? We'd organized to all go to lunch at the particular place. It was literally next door to the hotel, right? This is, again, still the first time I've gone. And it ends up being this whole argument, right? Oh my gosh, we ended up having a group talk in the last trip. Oh, there's so much to tell. And, you know, somebody got really upset because basically, long story short, we were all supposed to go to this restaurant, which again, there's like 20 odd of us. And we were supposed to all be there. I think the timing, I can't remember what the timing was. But there was, and what I did is because at this point, I already knew what I was getting myself into. So anytime we had to like be somewhere at a certain time, like outside of just the venue itself and getting there, I would just say, I'm not going to go. Like, so I wouldn't go to lunch. Like, I actually wouldn't go to lunch. Also, you guys know I don't really eat a lot. I wouldn't go to lunch because I knew it wasn't worth the hassle, because I felt like there's something I'm going to somehow do wrong. And it's just not worth it. Like, it's just not worth it. It's not worth the stress. This is the first year. So one guy ends up going late, like he's like 5 minutes late. And he was a bit of a scatty one, right? But this is, again, the thing where I'm thinking about leadership. And I'm just like, guys, when are we going to mature? Like, this is what happens. When you're dealing with humans, they're unpredictable. If you've got 20 people doing something, right? There's going to be you're going to have the person that's going to arrive half an hour early and is already, you know, was there for an hour or whatever. And you're going to have the person that shows up 5 minutes late. You know what I mean? Most people are going to be in the middle. You know what I mean? It's not that deep, but then the big deal was made. And I was thinking, what a luxury in life it must be to be an adult and have the time to be so upset about somebody being 5 minutes late to lunch at a restaurant, which we're going to sit past anyway. We're all going to sit in here anyways, past that time. That's just the time for you to come in and, you know, order or whatever. And whatever, right? And I'm not saying that it's acceptable. What I'm saying is, like, as a leader, like, if you're leading people, you should expect the unexpected. You should account for these types of things. Like, for me, I wouldn't tell them the end time of what I really mean is the end time. I would just say a time, and I would expect that I'm going to stay there for another half an hour, because that's my fail-safe to go, well, I did say this time, and I even waited half an hour extra, so you can't have anything to say, and I won't be angry, and I won't lose my temper. I won't do whatever like I see freaking grown adults doing, right? I'll just leave it at that because I did my due diligence. I left a bit of leeway for some extra grace and understanding, and they might just walk in, and it might be something as simple as, hey, because you never know with people. So I'm saying people are poor leaders these days. They might walk in and say, like, hey, you know, I just heard really bad news from a family member. It turns out this person, by the way, newsflash, was actually going through a really hard time in life. And spoiler alert, secret, is actually currently unconscious. The last I heard of them, in a coma after some pretty severe situations went down. So this person was going through it anyway. And this is, again, where I'm just like, I'm holding myself back because I don't want to, like, I'm realizing I'm appeasing the wrong people. at the end of the day, because this person, you know, poor thing, was made to feel so bad. And I heard certain people say certain things about them. And I, again, didn't judge, because I was just like, you know, you never know somebody's circumstances. Like, and so again, and it's always the older generation with me who are comfortable to just rattle off whatever they think about others. And it's like, that's really ugly, because to now know the situation this person was going through, it's like, how dumb do you all look now? You know, it was such a safe space for them to be there, because this person also, before ending up in the extreme situation that they're in now, was not invited back after one of the times. They were there the second time? And I don't know if they were there the second time. Definitely not the third time. You know, so sometimes having them being in that place, like, this is what I love about the Sidemen, you know, in the Sidemen, they all were there for each other, like, in these really tough times. And because they were there, they had a group, they had people that were like, had their backs. That's why they were able to succeed, because when they were in a dark moment, you know, people didn't just shove them off or write them off or call them names or call them something. They, as a group of guys, were there for each other, which I think is so beautiful. So, yeah. So that's what was happening. So I'm noticing all these tiny little things in the first year. But again, my focus had been... So then by the time I left, because I remember I went there for nearly an entire month the first time, I went in there thinking my anxiety was all about the singing. And by about the first week, I was like, the singing became such a background character to what was going on. Because I'm now getting an in-depth example, and I'm learning some stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. All of a sudden, I'm seeing things in a slightly different way than I saw them before. And I'm like, huh. And I'm being confronted now with, I guess you could argue, a greater giant than the ones I've had before. Because I'm like, in all these situations, like, do I say something? Because even with this guy and the way he was being treated and some of the things that some people were saying about some people, I was just like, you know what? Like, can we like actually like, I really like, and again, I was trying to be respectful of elders. I was trying to be respectful of so-called people who've been skin in the game and professionals. Yeah. But honestly, I wish I'd spoken up. Like, there was another situation, right, with this girl, because I remember this one particular girl. So there was, in the group, right, there was me and my friend. Well, there was a friend that invited me, then the friend that I made. So we're talking right now about the friend that I made, because the friend that invited me, she obviously a lot of the time had to be doing stuff to do with, you know, her and her husband and organization. And so I made this new friend, the one who's now, she's just the freaking superstar of all time, right? Sweetest person ever, by the way. Literally the sweetest. She's so sweet. Like, whenever I'm around her, I'm just like, and she looks at me because she knows how I'm looking at her, and I know how she looks at me. And like, she looks at me like... I love being around people like her, though, because she's so sweet, but she's so powerful, and just so, she's been through so much, and she's just the sweetest person ever, like, complete winner, not letting life beat her up, not making excuses for bad behavior. When she's told me about her life, I was like, and you are the most loveliest, gentlest, sweetest, hardest working person ever. After all of that, meanwhile, the older generation is just making excuses, talk about this is the first time living. Shut up. So... me and her, there was this other girl, yeah, on the group, and I'm not going to give her name out, but we all happened to be, I have to tread so carefully. Anyways, this other girl, yeah, and we were all cool. I want to just add, so a couple of us had like split into some subgroups, right? So me and this girl were kind of like a little subgroup, and that's because this is the first time in years I can talk freely about my male experiences with a woman without anything bad happening. So me and her, this is all we were talking about. And when I tell you, I was like, I felt like I had a sister. Like, for the first time, I felt like I actually had a sister, like sisters. So we're just always there in the corner because stuff's going down. Half of production's falling in love. Like, there's people making moves. I'm talking about, you won't believe what just happened. I got into the lift with so-and-so, and I got into the lift and so-and-so walks in, and then he was saying this, and she's like, no way. And then I'm like, yeah, and then this, and then we're showing each other's text messages, and there's things going down in the middle of the night. It's going down. People were seen leaving people's hotel rooms, and we were just talking about all this stuff in secret, right? Because it was all so juicy. And whatever, there was romances forming in all generations. The first year, if I'd recorded it like the way I did the last one, oh my gosh, it would have been like a movie. It would have been like a reality TV show. Because I was saying to her, I feel like we're in a reality TV show because we literally go out and sit and like be at this cute little coffee shop having coffee and pastries. Like this is an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians talking about what just happened. And so I was like, we need a TV show. I think me and her have a great TV show. But anyway, so like we're doing all of this, right? Why did I even mention this? This is other girl. And one other woman started to describe this girl, because we've got a mixture of types of people in the group, you know, spiritual, non-spiritual. But one of the older generation women started referring to her as, oh, that girl, she's a Jezebel. This is the girl I was telling you guys about, where we were in the queue in the cafeteria, and I literally hear her say in the cafeteria, like, this is kind of bold from you. She's standing there in the line, and we're in the line, and there's these two guys. So one of the guys I was kind of really cool with, because why are we really cool? One Piece, actually. Because he's like, you like One Piece? He's like, yeah, I love One Piece. It's like, so we just clicked over that. And then the other guy, that was his brother, right? And so they're like in front of us in the queue, and we're just there, and we're just enjoying our time and whatever. And this girl, she was always on demon timing. Like, honestly, she comes in and she's like to them, me and my other friend are standing behind. She goes to the guys, so, you know, we could do a threesome. Like, and she's one of those girls that does that thing where like she kept going up to where like the audio visual guys were, and like the like kind of DJ bit over there. And she's one of those girls that hangs out and does one of those cringy little dances. And she, for me, is just hilarious. Like, I love characters like her because they bring so much, like I'm saying, she brought so much entertainment to the situation. But some of the other women, they were obviously intimidated because they were like, oh, the Jezebel, look at her. Because she was there in a crop top. Honestly, she wasn't really dressed. I feel like she was just dressed like a girl who, you know, on a hot day, who has the body that can pull it off. Oh, that Jezebel. And the reason why I bring this up is because the Jezebel that was being spoken about wasn't the Jezebel we needed to worry about, because I don't even think she was the Jezebel, because the guys weren't even falling for it. Because I remember I hosted a sleepover one of the nights in my friend's hotel room, because I was like, she was feeling down, and I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to invite everybody to come to your room, and we're playing games. I'm teaching everybody all the games. I went and brought down the stairs to the hotel bar. I'm buying drinks and buying snacks, bringing it back up to her hotel room. And so we had some of the production team there. We've got the freaking guy, the one that comes to fix our mic that I always reference to you guys in the video and stuff. And I'm like, we're getting told stories now, like, oh, that girl in your group, she's so annoying. Like, why is she always coming up here? She's always coming to get in our way. And she's all up there like taking videos. I love people like her because they just provide so much entertainment. And for me, she's kind of harmless because she's not really doing anything. She's not something to worry about. She's good looking. You know, yes, is she going around and is she giving herself up a bit too much? Have we heard a few things, you know, things went down? Yes. But she's not like doing something heinous like a Jezebel, which is where we're headed. Because now I'm like, wow, these people were so busy distracted. Some of these other women, so-called Christian, was so distracted by this young, hot babe, yeah, that they couldn't actually, it was distracting them in their pride and in their like jealousy. They were distracted from the greater Jezebel at hand here, who was actually the one that was the issue everybody was being affected by, including the artist himself. And that's where I came in, because I wasn't getting clouded. It's almost like if somebody puts out a spell and then like you are just not, and everybody falls asleep and you're like the last one left awake because for some reason the spell doesn't work on you. That's kind of like how my experience was. It was like everybody was under this spell, and then I wake up and it's like, and then I'm like not under the spell because for some reason the spell didn't work on me, and I'm just looking at everybody else under this spell. That's exactly how it felt. And it's crazy because I couldn't even name this feminine entity at all. I couldn't figure out what it was until I landed back from Italy the last ever time I went there last year. And I remember the moment the plane landed, I walked off the flight and immediately I just said out loud, it's Jezebel. Like, and that was when it hit me. And it took 3 entire years for me to pinpoint who, because I'm like, I know there's a spirit. I just don't know who. And anyways, in the next part, I'm going to explain exactly what was going down to make me think, and what started to happen like in the second year and so on, to get me to the point where I realized it was Jezebel, to then be confronted with Jezebel when I then went to Poland after I realized it was Jezebel. Because now she's like, you got me. That's why I'm like, it's crazy how this happens. And it's crazy that this all the stuff I'm doing here that I'm talking about with you now is considered, as far as humans are concerned, this YouTube channel is considered my side quest and my job is considered my main thing. I'm like, the job is the side quest. This is the main quest because this is what actually matters. And it's just so frustrating that I live in a world where, is it going foggy again? Girl, it's so frustrating living in a world where like what's actually valuable isn't valuable to what's valuable to, obviously, it shouldn't be surprised. What's valuable to God isn't going to be valuable to the world, and what's valuable to the world isn't going to be valuable to God, right? So what am I surprised about? Anyway, so we're going to go to the real Jezebel, not just this other girl who was just doing whatever she was doing. She was harmless. She could sing. She had herself a following. She was, you know what I mean? She was a bit annoying people, but, you know, she wasn't like heinous. And this is what I'm gonna describe more about anyways in part 3. So come back for part 3, where I tell you more about what happened the next year and the real Jezebel in the situation while I was out singing in Italy. Because if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.